One of the risks with weight loss medications and losing weight fast is...
How important would you say health is overall for somebody?
It's the most important thing. Like
Why?
if you haven't got health, then you haven't really got anything else.
Okay, if somebody had a checklist and they're like, I want to take my health into my own hands, I'm going to start here. What's the first thing that they should do?
And they are the 4 big pillars that if you can do consistently well and get right, you're going to live more optimally. If you are healthy, you're going to be more enjoyable to be around. If you're healthy, like physically and mentally, and you're radiating positivity, then you're going to have better relationships and work connections and experiences.
Hello, Project Ultimate Lifers. Welcome to today's show. We have Rachel Bird here, who we're going to be talking about coaching and some different types of things. So let's get into it. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of like your background to how you've gotten here?
Okay. Well, I drove here. I'm joking. So I went to university at 18, as most people do, in the UK at that time, thinking, what do I want to do? And had taken some careers advice, was told maybe do something in science. You seem to be quite good at that, and that's going to hopefully lead you to a high-paying job. And at the time, I was like, all right, okay, I don't know what else to do. I ended up taking some science A-levels and then going and studying pharmacy, which I think took me down the route of starting to see the world through like a healthcare professional's eyes, which I really value and I'm taking through into like my work and role here now. And I practiced as a pharmacist in the UK for about 8 years, and got to a point where I just started to feel less aligned with pharmaceuticals as interventions for health and more aligned and feeling like I wanted to have more of an emphasis on lifestyle measures like exercise and diet and sleep and stress management. And I was starting to feel like I wasn't really able to serve my patients as much as I wanted to with their chronic diseases by just prescribing pharmaceuticals for them, because I believe, and I really do, like the evidence is telling us this, that lots of our diseases are caused by lifestyle choices. So that's when I started to do my own study to upskill myself in nutrition, and I studied a master's in clinical nutrition. And then a little time later, really started to feel like actually the setting I was in and as a pharmacist wasn't really what I wanted to do, and I was really passionate myself about exercise and training, and I wanted to become a personal trainer. And I just kind of gradually got there over that period, working as a pharmacist, looking into nutrition, learning about that, and thinking, yeah, I'm going to do my personal training qualifications. And quite quickly, after completing that, I gave up my role as a pharmacist full-time and started to personal train full-time, and I moved to Qatar to do that.
Okay.
And that's a story in like a very quickly. But I'm now working as personal trainer for myself and a nutritionist, and I still keep all the pharmaceutical, well, maybe not all, but lots of the pharmaceutical knowledge and skills that I practiced and learned in the forefront of my mind in terms of how I build trust and rapport with the person in front of me. They're not a patient now, they're a client, but in terms of those skill sets, they're very transferable and handy to have. I also can help people with their questions about their common ailments they have. Particularly common things I talk about with my clients now is around menopause and HRT, and the information and the skills I learned as a pharmacist really helped me with that and really transfer into it. So I think now, like, I look at health holistically with the 3 focuses based on my experience, education and interest as exercise, nutrition and pharmaceuticals, which I think like creates quite a unique balance and blend of skill set to be able to help and serve my clients.
So if somebody were going to come to you, what would be that problem that they were struggling with the most? Like, what are some emotional, mental, physical sort of barriers that they're having with their own success? Why would they go to you? Like, what do you work to sort of help them address?
Okay, so I think most people come to me because they want to improve their health in some way, and that might be actually they want to lose weight, and they want to feel more comfortable in their body, and they want to have more energy. They would be probably the common 3 things that you see. And often people come to me saying, I want to be healthy, and you have to try to understand what the actual pain point is. It might be that they want to feel better in a certain dress. They want to feel better for their partner and feel more confident in their body. Some of it might be generally they want to be healthier, they want to live longer with a better quality of life.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about you as a coach, all right? What do you get out of this? Like, you are helping people. What continues to help you show up every day to want to do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. It gives me real joy to see somebody else improve their health, improve their life, and feel happier and more confident. It was something I was struggling with in pharmacy as I was working as a pharmacist, that I was making these interventions and working hard and doing what I thought was a diligent job, but not really seeing an improvement in the person in front of me, seeing them come back to me asking for a higher dose of a medication or another medication on top of it, but not actually seeing their conditions improve. But I'll see patients now like quite quickly see like a big improvement in their confidence. They'll come to me and say like, I feel so much better in myself. Even these small, less like tangible things, you can't measure them as well and as easily, but they'll come to me and say they feel better, or my colleagues have commented on how much more energy I have, or how I look different. And I can see their confidence with exercises that we're doing and the progression that they make with their weights and how their strength, what they can lift. Those types of things just really do give me like joy throughout the day with my clients. I feel genuine job satisfaction from what I do now.
And so there's a couple of things that have come up here. One thing in Project Ultimate Life is a lot of it is about mindset, right? So it took a lot for you to become a pharmacist and then to transfer again into nutrition, to add that to your toolkit, and then to be a physical trainer and add that to your toolkit. Yeah. I feel like when I talk to you, I'm just like, dang, she's got this like triple threat of awesomeness to be able to approach her clients with, right? What kind of a mindset does it take to continue to adjust and like want to build? Like, what's going on for, I don't want to just say for you because this is you in general, but that a lot of people maybe haven't even done that first step towards their toolkit, but you just keep adding and making and improving.
You're right. It's a good question. I think it's probably quite unconscious, but I don't feel like I fear things very often. And I'm usually motivated by, how can I make things better? How can I be happier? How can I be more satisfied? And I guess I wasn't afraid to take the leap and make those changes, where some people might be afraid. I appreciate that it's quite a big change and it could be quite scary. I luckily feel like I was supported enough with friends and family and financially to make those changes, to do those qualifications and just to give it a go. I think for me, the thing I always felt is if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't work as a personal trainer, I can't make a living from it, or I'm not good at it or something, I can always go back to pharmacy. I can always go back to a life. So that maybe gave me the confidence to do that. And I think like lots of people stay in a job and a situation in a life thinking it's not perfect, but I can do it. And I just always had like a different ambition. I want to really feel happy, and I want to do the things I can that are in my control to make that happen. And with the reality and expectation that you're not always going to be happy, not everything's always going to be perfect, and there's going to be parts of all jobs and lifestyles that you just have to do because it's the process. Like doing my invoices, doing my admin. That's not my favorite thing to do, but it's part of it. On the whole, most of it I really enjoy now. And I was just, I guess, confident enough, or didn't have the fear, just to go and give it a go and try it.
I love that. I feel like I'm also moving forward a lot, and I love the idea that fear is just false evidence appearing real. And so for me, it's like this is my fourth country. I'm about to leave Doha to go like nomadically, and every time I kind of how you're saying, like every time I go to that next step, it's like, well, I could always go back and do that. I could always go back to AFC and do events. I could always go back to teaching. I could always go back to back, picking weeds for the city and listening, like there's always backwards. So that's good. That's like a sense of built-in security. Okay, so, and then what kind of mindset, because again, mindset, let's dissect that. There is a mindset for everything, how we approach our days, the ability to move forward and having that in the backwards. What kind of a mindset does somebody need to have who is driving forward to be able to continue to move forward and not let things get in the way when roadblocks come up and these types of things? Like if somebody were listening to this and they too were thinking like, wow, this girl's done a lot. How does she keep going? What could they dial in with their mindset to be able to have that confidence and overcome the fear? And what would they need to work on?
Well, like I said before, I didn't think it was consciously like a conscious decision for me before. But I think my best guess here is try and think about your motivation. Like I know naturally my motivation is generally like intrinsic, so how I'm going to feel inside, rather than what somebody else is going to think of me and what society thinks of me and what my mum and dad might think. I'm trying to just make myself happy and push myself forward. So that drives me, is the inside, how do I feel and am I happy? Do I want more? Am I achieving? Rather than looking for the external validation, which I think is often where people are, like people and maybe more younger people these days are looking for their motivation. They want the validation from others to motivate them. Okay. I would say try to look within about what actually makes you happy, what are your values, what do you align with, and what do you want for you, not for anybody else. I think there's a good start of figuring out what you want to do, hopefully to then drive you to do it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's smart. All right. So thinking about now a client, let's go back to this idea that somebody wants to come to see you and they're struggling with different things, etc. Not necessarily the mindset, but what beliefs do people often have about themselves that could hold them back?
Oh, like their limiting beliefs. Generally they're just thinking they can't do it, or they won't succeed, they won't be able to stick at it, they won't commit to it. Physically, they can't lift this weight, they can't do that exercise. And that's probably one of the reasons why they have a coach, someone to help empower them, encourage them, upskill them in that area, give them the confidence and motivate them. So they would be like the limiting beliefs, is just all the things that would come before can't, like I can't do it, I can't achieve it. I think good mindsets of a successful client, like all of my most successful clients have really committed to the programs and to the coaching I'm offering. They've communicated really well with me, and I encourage like really open communication. So if something isn't working for them, or if they don't like the type of training we're doing, or they don't like an exercise particularly, or they don't like the time that we're training, I encourage them to speak to me about that and communicate openly. So I want to make it work for them. I want it to be right for them. Committing.
Do you have any examples of times you've worked with clients where you either had to be like go above and beyond, or they just happen to be like these incredible clients that just like they really took their own transformation into their hands? Does anything come to mind?
Do you know, I don't think it's like a standout remarkable thing, but it's like the consistency. The person who is prepared to show up and do the thing that they want to, do the thing that I'm asking them to, and they do it for long enough to get the results. There isn't actually like a magic solution and doing something all bells and whistles. It's consistency. That's the key really to getting the success, and that's the key. I'll do everything I can to take away the barriers to help someone be consistent. So make the sessions as enjoyable and as fun and challenging and appropriate for them. Communicate with them about, their beliefs and their barriers, their limiting, the things that are limiting them, and work with them. And then really just trying to be consistent, trying to encourage that person to keep being consistent with whatever life throws at them. There's always going to be barriers, there's always going to be things that go wrong. There's sickness, there's work stresses, there's kids not being well. Trying to work with them to see what they can do rather than what they can't do. There's always something, even if it's a smaller act, that they can be doing to benefit their health.
Do you have like a general philosophy for coaching that you go by? Or is it just how it expressed on a day-to-day basis with your client is kind of how you express your philosophy? Like, could you summarize that in a couple of sentences?
I like to think about meeting the person in front of me where they are. They have their goals, which might be here, but we also have to be realistic about where they are now, what we can do now, what's realistic, and then communicating that with them about like the stepwise process. So taking them on that journey. We have them now, we have this end point, but I need to meet them where they are now to get them there. Yeah, so my main philosophy would be just to meet that client where they are, do what I can for them now to give them some skills, give them some confidence to take them on the stepward journey to reaching their goal. I think the important thing to do is to communicate the realistic expectations with them. Like generally people think that they're going to get to their goal in a shorter period of time than it actually takes. And I think if we get that expectation set at the beginning that this is a journey and we need to lean into enjoying the journey, enjoying the process, we're going to be more successful in getting there eventually, and you're going to enjoy the process, you're going to get more from it than we are if we are fixating on the goal always.
Okay. How important would you say health is overall for somebody?
It's the most important thing. Like if
Why?
you haven't got health, then you haven't really got anything else. Like you think, what would the other things that would be important to somebody generally? Like money, friends, cell phones. Yeah, money, holidays. If you haven't got your health, then you can't go and work and earn the money. You can't enjoy the money. You can't go on the holidays. You can't have relationships with people and friendships because you haven't got your health. It's always going to be hindering you. And you're going to live more optimally if you are healthy. You're going to be more enjoyable to be around. If you're healthy, like physically and mentally, and you're radiating positivity, then you're going to have better relationships and work connections and experiences.
Is there like a certain thing that, like, okay, if somebody had a checklist and they're like, I want to take my health into my own hands, I'm going to start here. What's the first thing that they should do?
It all really depends on where they are, though. Like, going back to my first point, where they are then. I treat people, my service is personal training. So like the person is an individual and we meet them exactly where they are with what they've got. But, you know, as an overall, there's the 4 main pillars for me, and it's moving, so exercise, nutrition, what you're eating daily, your sleep and your stress management. And they are the 4 big pillars that if you can do consistently well and get right, that I think is going to lead into a healthy situation. It's not going to make you immune to diseases. That's not going to make you completely bulletproof, but it's going to give you the best chance of living with a healthy mind and body, living long, living well.
Yeah, so we were having a conversation recently, which made me really start thinking about kind of the direction and the way of health. And you had mentioned, you know, that, okay, obviously the chronic diseases out there are like diabetes, CPD, like these types of things.
COPD.
And these types of things. But there is something particularly on the market now that can address this. And you had kind of a vision of how you'd be able to support people with that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
So I think you're talking about the weight loss medication. So that's what we know them as. They're much more than that, actually. There is evidence now that they're helpful for cardiac health, so your heart health, autoimmune diseases, even addiction, mental health disorders. We're talking about GLP-1 receptor agonists, the common one being Ozempic, the brand name, and the generic name is semaglutide. People will have heard of those different things.
And as a pharmacist, you can say these out loud.
Yeah, so these are the new weight loss medications that are out there, and they are getting lots of attention in the press, particularly in developed countries like the US, the UK, they're here in the Gulf as well. Okay, so these medications are very effective at helping people lose weight, and that's quite novel because until this last couple of years, we haven't had very effective medications for this. We've had a few that have been on the market, then taken off because of health concerns, safety concerns, and a few that are just quite poorly efficacious. They just don't actually work so well. These new medications bridge the gap between what you might be able to achieve through diet and lifestyle. Generally, for the average person, might be between 5 and 10% weight loss. And then there's bariatric surgery, which is the surgical interventions we have to help people lose weight. And they'd be like the gastric band, the gastric bypass, the sleeve. So there's surgical interventions, there's diet and lifestyle, and surgical interventions can bring about successful weight loss in big numbers, up to 20% of your body weight and more that you can lose. Diet and lifestyle generally could only really reach about 5 to 10% body weight loss, total body weight loss. And then these new medications bridge that gap. So you can now effectively take these medications and get similar or close to the effects of bariatric surgery without having to go into the knife and having the risks of all the surgical complications. Yeah, they are generally very well tolerated medications. They have been used for a different indication for diabetes for a little while, so we know a bit about them, and probably about 10 years long-term safety data on them. So in that regard, relatively safe, but they are medications. They are exogenous substances, so they do come with the potential risk of side effects. But like I said, very effective at helping people lose weight, and they are licensed for and indicated for people who are in overweight or obese body types. They're not licensed, and they shouldn't be used for people who are in normal body types according to their BMI, who might want to lose a few pounds before their wedding or before a holiday or for any other reason. That's not the person they're intended for. And I don't recommend, and I don't kind of advocate or condone the use in that population group. I do absolutely think they are useful intervention for overweight and obese populations, because this person is at risk of chronic diseases if they haven't already got them. And dying young, like not having a good quality of life because of this excess weight they're carrying. And if we can help them lose weight, we can help improve their quality of life, we can improve their health, we can reverse and certainly reduce their complications and symptoms from their chronic diseases. So absolutely beneficial and helpful for those types of people. I think like all medications has always been my standpoint as a pharmacist, and now whilst I'm not practicing, has been that medications should only be taken if they are indicated and licensed for you, and you've weighed up the risks versus the benefits, and you've decided, given all the information that's out there, that you understand it, that the medication, the decision is right for you to have. So I would be prepared to support people with that decision, and I can give them my pharmaceutical expertise and advice on how the medications work, what the likelihood of side effects are, what you'll be looking out for. I can help debunk like the myths around them, help explain the literature and the evidence that comes out, and what that means for like a layperson, and then also help support them whilst they're taking that medication to do it well. One of the risks with weight loss medications and losing weight fast is that you potentially lose muscle. And this is one of the big concerns of these medications. It is no worse than going on a drastic diet and losing weight really quickly through diet. It's also no worse than going through the knife and like having bariatric surgery and losing weight quickly. The loss of muscle mass is no worse than all those three interventions. But the press is saying otherwise. The percentage and proportion of muscle loss on these medications is comparable to diet interventions and surgical interventions. But what we can do things to preserve muscle when you're on these medications. And that's where somebody who is skilled and trained in personal training would be helpful. So any personal training coach or strength conditioning coach would be helpful for you to preserve your muscle mass, to help you become stronger, and doing that via exercise and training coaching and good focus on nutrition, so adequate protein intake.
Okay, very cool. Now, you had a vision for this. So you had mentioned that, right now at this time, space, and reality, you're working with clients one-on-one, but you kind of see that molding into something different. Yeah. Why, and what would that look like? Yeah, so I really enjoy the personal training, in-person, one-to-one work that I do, but I'm almost and have been at capacity for like quite a while now. In terms of the time availability I have and the energy I have to be able to do that and deliver a real quality session, which I want to always do. I do, however, want to help as many people as I can, and that's always going to be a goal. So an avenue to do that is via online work. You generally can take on more clients, and deliver a service to help more people whilst using a little bit less of your time. For example, I travel to all my clients currently and I give them an hour session. So there's how it works. You can hit more people, help more people in an online setting. And I really think these medications are getting big traction because they are very, very effective. There's lots of people who are saying kind of negative things about them and maybe scaremongering about them. Maybe it's misunderstanding about the medications, but lots of people are using them and wanting to use them. And one of the risks when there's high demand for medications, for interventions, is that they're given and they're prescribed by people who aren't fully in the know or able to give the services and the advice that's necessary alongside it. For example, this medication should be prescribed making sure that every patient is fully aware of the risks and the evidence for and against it, but also with good, strong advice and follow-up about nutrition and how that person should be looking at their nutrition now that they're on this medication that is going to suppress their appetite significantly. That has real implications for what you're going to want to eat, what you can tolerate eating, and we need to, like I mentioned, really focus on protein so that we help this person preserve as much muscle mass as they can. The person also needs to be thinking about exercising if they're not already, for all of the reasons that you'd encourage somebody to exercise anyway, to help their health and longevity, but particularly for these groups of people who are at risk of losing this muscle mass very quickly. If they're not resistance training, it's almost a dead cert that they will lose lots of muscle mass. So for those reasons, I think I can offer a service that will be helpful to people who these medications are appropriate for, like I mentioned, overweight or obese people, populations only, in a holistic approach to helping them understand their medication, how it works, and helping them with their diet, prioritizing their nutritional needs now that their appetite's suppressed. Because
think about this, if you're suddenly not feeling hungry or wanting to eat, you're probably going to eat the same types of food, just less of it. And likely those foods are those foods that got you to the overweight and obese body in the first place, which probably the less nutritional foods. It's even more important in this situation when you're taking on less foods, that what you are taking on is giving you what your body needs. So it's balanced, it's giving you the vitamins and minerals that you require, it's giving you the macronutrients that you require. And then obviously, as part of my other personal training services we'll be looking at and coaching, I'll be coaching you on how to exercise and resistance train to preserve the muscle mass and also improve your cardiovascular health and your longevity.
If someone wanted to do a full transformation, how long would they need to work with you for to get the most impact for that? Would you recommend? I know it varies, but what would you recommend?
I don't think I can give you a time frame because, like I said, it depends where that person comes from. It's probably not as simple as this, but if we think about it simply, like the greater the weight loss that's needed, the longer it's probably going to take. And I also encourage slow weight loss, encourage the patients with that, because then it's more likely that you're going to preserve the muscle whilst you lose the weight, and that it's going to be sustainable and be able to maintain that and keep off the weight longer term. But it just depends on what barriers come along for that person in that process. So they might have great intentions, be losing lots of weight, and then boom, something hits them, an injury, pregnancy, anything in life. So I can't really give you a timeline. My answer is as long as it takes, and to lean into the process, enjoy the process in the meantime, that in the confidence that what you're doing, knowing that what you're doing is helping your health, and have fun with it. So I'm sorry I can't give you an answer. There's not a timeline.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, now if somebody were to just be starting this journey, or they were at the beginning, okay, or they were midlife, they're wanting to make a massive transition happen, or they're at the beginning and they're like, what kind of life do I want to live, right? They're designing their ultimate life. What advice or feedback would you have to give them? Or words of encouragement or inspiration and motivation?
I would suggest that they get in tune with their values, what they want from life, and understand their why. Because we can all start something with great intentions and this is the new me, new year, new me comes to mind here. I'm going to do this. A few weeks in, a few months in, it's a bit hard. It's maybe a little bit boring, or it's difficult and you don't have the energy, you don't want to. If you are really in tune with your why and you can remember that in those moments, that can help you continue with it. But if your why isn't strong enough, you might be like, it doesn't matter that much to me. So before you start anything, understand the why around it. I think that's the advice I'd give someone.
So as we kind of wrap up, is there anything else that speaks to you that you want to feel compelled to say? Or if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they?
Yeah, so we were talking just before off air about coaching and why you'd become a coach and the values. And you asked me earlier about why I do it, and I told you that I genuinely get satisfaction from it. One of the other things that I think is really important that I would say to somebody looking for a coach in lots of different aspects, not necessarily even me, but for any coach that you're going to work with or look to work with, trying to find somebody who you do get along with and you do have similar values to, and that you can trust and believe in, because you're going to form quite a close connection. That person's going to spend lots of time with you, particularly if it's in one-to-one settings. And I've been a client and have my own coach. I also obviously am coaching lots of people myself. And if you can have that good connection, you can be honest and open with somebody, you trust them, you can reveal, what's going on in your life and know that you can trust them, that they're going to help you and advocate for you and for your best interest, then I think you're going to get more from it. I'll have my feedbacks sessions with clients, my online clients, every new block that I'm doing. And I'll genuinely say to them, tell me what you like and what you don't like in the program, what you want more of or less of if you want different focus, so that I can keep tailoring that program so it's right for them and appropriate for them. And I think if you don't have an open communication with your coach or the person you're working with, try to form that or find somebody who will, because this has to work for you. You have to enjoy it enough to be doing it, but also be able to get the results. And I think if you're not having open communication, it's going to be difficult to do.
And then this goes, so I also have a coach whom I absolutely love and adore. And it was through the process. In the past, I haven't actually interviewed coaches when I've hired them. And I've had that situation where like it wasn't the best fit, right? For mostly personality reasons. Just in terms of like the drive, the desire, and like the experience of the journey, right? Like I hired somebody who's a professional and I was just wanting to like enjoy. So I think knowing your values is really good. Knowing your goals, seeing if they match up in a lineup are good. Do you do anything to protect yourself from clients? Like, for example, I know that, a lot of coaches these days actually don't want to take on clients that are going to kind of like drain, like, maybe be someone who would drain their energy or, kind of have that effect. Is that something that you consider, or do you have a process for making sure you weed out the clients that are going to not also serve?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had to do that very often, if ever. I think I can only think of maybe one case like that where I thought we're just not a very good fit, and the collaboration, the interactions aren't serving me, and I can see that it's impacting me. And then the last thing I would want is it to ever have a knock-on effect to another client or another part of my work or life. Fortunately, lots of my clients who've approached me have been great people, good fits for me. They've worked well with me, they've respected me, trusted me, and we've had good communication. But I think it's really important, like I said, for the main part, is that it doesn't then seep into other parts of your life and work. So yeah, I think be careful with who you share your time with and who you give your energy to. If it's not serving you, then I think it's really important and really wise to recognize that, and you don't have to. I think part of a professional isn't just to leave somebody high and dry. Like, I would never say, I can't work with you, goodbye. I'd always make sure that I was referring elsewhere to a more appropriate service. If I thought, actually, my skill set aren't right for this, there's somebody else better for you, then that's my duty, that's my job, and that's what I would do.
Amazing. Okay, cool. And if somebody did want to work with you, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me on social media, Rachel Bird PT on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And on there's the links to how you would get my number and work with me. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, Rachel, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on the show.